What's your why for community?
I just know it's important. That's it. Welcome back, everybody. Behind the Grind with
Rich and Brian.
We're here for another episode.
We are.
Been a long week. It's only, is it Monday?
It's Monday, dude.
It's Monday. All
What
right.
are you talking about?
We have got what I hope will believe it'll end up being a banger. It'll be one that you guys remember because it's about building community that we're trying to build with you guys between us.
Say what's up.
What's
By
up?
the way,
Yeah, seriously.
let us know what's going on in your lives. Ask us some questions. Love to hear it.
Topics that you want to hear about.
Write it down
because
below.
we have tons of success, failure, and we're bringing on, I think we had like 14 guests that we're now working on. So if there's topics that you want to hear about, you're in Singapore, Hong Kong, Bangkok, Vietnam, we're going to take this circus on the road pretty soon. So with that,
What's up?
community, huge topic. It's something that I think both of us look at all the time, and like in a way that I view it as, I mean, it's fun. This is not
it is.
It's not a tactic. I'm not trying to hack. I'm not trying to like hook people into some tacky ass sales pattern. Like, we are human beings who should be surrounded by a community of people that I mean, we agreed, disagree with, that we want to work with. You know, like it's a scrum. But through this, we're going to talk about how we approach it. I think we have a little bit different tactics and tools. We've had some different experiences. He's got books, he's got happy hours, he's got things, and then I've got a lot of online, and I'm taking that, trying to make that offline. So really hope you enjoy this. But again, please send us your questions. Please let us know some topics that you want to know more about, because we need those topics for future episodes. So with that, let's get into it. So,
all right, so I want to ask this question for you is like, community? Really? For real, dude?
Yeah.
You talking about community?
I want to be authentic.
What does that mean? Yo, I don't even believe that. Community?
So
what is that?
I used to talk about this in a way that's like, you know what? There's natural community and there's manufactured community.
Okay.
Now, to make this really easy, natural community is grandma's house.
Uh-huh.
All of grandma's friends come over for grandma's tea and grandma's cookies.
Uh-huh.
And then the next week they go over to grandma's friend's house and they rotate.
Yeah.
And this is their crew. It's their tribe. It's their whatever.
Yeah.
And they are constant. And there's no pressure to leave. Hang out much you want. We want to know everything. And it survives for generations, right? Like
it's basic human nature.
It's basic human nature.
Right.
Campfire to tea.
So that's
manufactured
authentic?
is Starbucks. It's manufactured. It's in their space. They have designers who are trying to optimize your experience. It's super loud. They want to rotate the tables, right? And it's a generic product. And I don't want to take anything away from Starbucks because they're damn successful, right? Like, they've manufactured it in a way just like Disneyland has, just like other people have, where it's like people are seeking that experience.
Right.
It's an experience.
It's a brand, right? It's a business.
Going to grandma's house is not an experience.
You're not invited,
It's just, it is a part of your life.
Right.
That when you carve it out, it hurts. When you carve out Starbucks, it doesn't hurt because there's always another spot. There's always something else that's been manufactured.
I see.
So for me, community it's about the people, it's about the environment, it's about what you're doing, it's about how you're helping each other, it's about a lot of different things. And you can manufacture it, and you can also just have a natural sense of community.
Love it. So what are you doing around community right now? Is this something you're spending a lot of time on? Is this something that is, how'd you get into it? What are you talking about with community? What are you doing with it?
So let's talk about the work I'm doing with the entrepreneurs in Asia.
Okay.
Because for the entrepreneurs that I've been working with, that I've been, interviewing as part of this channel, I'm really working hard to build a community across this region of entrepreneurs, and it's super tough. Online, I think I've got an amazing database.
Yeah.
I'm linked into them. I'm Facebook to them. I'm on WhatsApp. I have a little community growing there. But what I'm actually struggling with is like, I actually don't like the digital as much. I love interviewing these people. I love knowing their story.
Right. When you're in the same room, when you're interacting with them, that is a whole different thing.
So how do you scale that when you have people in Bangkok, Saigon, Manila, Jakarta? Like, how do you bring those people together? Because that's what I want to do. I want to bring this group together as a platform so they can help each other. So I've been struggling with this because the first step is like, let's hold a conference. Let's do an offsite.
Yeah, predictable.
Let's have a newsletter.
And
let's do a Facebook group.
Do it if you need to, right? It's not bad.
So I struggle with this because when it comes to community, I know what I want. I want everyone to really be learning from each other because we're all doing this amazing work.
Sure.
Very few people actually know each other, even in the cities.
Forget about it, yeah.
So my first step is actually doing breakfasts.
Mm-hmm.
When I fly in now, I will host a breakfast. I'll pay for it. Just come on in, croissants and coffee.
Nice.
Do a couple hours. And I'll really work hard to make sure that I'm identifying people that don't know each other.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'll look at your LinkedIn, I'll look at your Facebook, I'll see, are you connected and who are you connected to? And then I'll try and map that a little bit. So there's a margin of improvement. It's a lot of work. But I think if you want it to be authentic, really cool. You got to do it.
Right. You're just bringing people together for like tea and cookies, like you were saying, for your grandmas, right? Are you grandma in this case?
I am grandma. But grandma's going to Starbucks because grandma needs a little bit of convenience to make this a little bit of space. Easier.
That's where Starbucks comes.
My hotel room becomes a little bit icky.
You don't want to do that.
You know, like so. This is the challenge, and I think like when we're talking about like real communities and it's a very difficult thing because you can only manage so many relationships. You always keep up with so many people, but you know how can you leverage tools, tech, to make that a little bit easier? I definitely I go back and forth with that
for sure. So what do you think about now?
What do you think about now? Like
with tech around community building.
Well, so you know, like have you or have you not connected with friends on Facebook from 20 years ago that you were like, I'm really genuinely happy to have reconnected with that person. Yeah. Right? Like there's got to be 5, 10, 20 people like that. So that's a tool. It happened. And there's ways that you can replicate that online. I think, my WhatsApp group, I have like 125 people in there. Not so active because I'm not bringing value. I'm just constantly like, hey guys, check this out. Hey guys, check that out. But I'm not I'm not generating discussion.
It may not
every once in a while it'll happen.
Completely interactive, right? But I mean, you have to seed it somehow, right?
Yeah, you
got to have the right kind of people, and then eventually it may or may not create its own value. Right. Which is cool.
But it needs to for the community to come together because they have to find value in talking to each other and be like, oh, Brian, like I don't know Brian. Brian's got this problem. Brian feels comfortable putting it out on WhatsApp, and then someone's like, hey, I'll help you. I'll give you a call. Yeah. Like that's like grandma's friends would do, right? So I keep trying to tackle like that, and I'm really far away from saying I'm anywhere close to completing that. But that's definitely like, how do I view the technology? It's a stopgap in place of a better option right now. Sure. So I think start with the breakfast.
So really it's not build the solution. Physically. It's the offline. It's the people. It's interactions. It's the conversations.
And then over time, maybe it's going to be, I've got a villa in Bali. I can handle 20 people. One of the entrepreneurs may be funding that, and then the other 19 are flying in from all over, and we create what would be a mastermind. But I'm really good at creating masterminds that make no money. So kind of like that. Let's all hang out for the weekend and maybe. Thematically, like you're in ag, you're in healthcare, you're in whatever. I really don't.
So it sounds like you're in a pretty early stages of thinking about this next step in terms of activating the community that you have so far, right? Because I think one issue that you have that maybe other people don't have is that you are thinking about a huge region with a lot of different cultures and a lot of different industries too. Right. So I think that's where it's a whole new curveball that maybe other people haven't. Really aren't playing that same game, right? You're just thinking in terms of like, all right, offline, who's in the room or who's in town that we can hook up and connect with and exchange ideas with. Online, then, what kind of systems or tech can I use to just link everybody up, send the messages, or do you
keep conversations
do you facilitate that? How do you?
So this is the thing. Is like the problem with these platforms is it requires a lot of time.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so I have not facilitated it well.
All right.
Like you start off with every intention.
Right? Yeah,
you start with every intention, and people are like, "Yeah, thanks, man. We really wanted to see this," and then it's like, 2 weeks later. You know, and a month goes by, sporadic. And then like it just
and it fizzles out. Yeah, because I mean, there's a million other things to do.
Yeah, and you like tell her like, "Hey, if you have news, throw it in here," and like, but people are like, "Yeah."
So then here's the question: Why? Why do it at all?
Because I think it's important. Because I think if one of the things I've been realizing is like there's a lot of people in this space that I'm meeting with that are working on the exact same problems. Yeah. And one, they could probably work together. Okay. Two, even if they don't work together formally, they could form relationships that that scale, that they can learn from each other. There's all kinds of opportunities that are being missed because that community doesn't exist. They don't know of each other. I think it's the biggest one, and that leads to scale of impact. I'm really concerned. Like, we need everyone to actually work together. You only gonna do that if you feel comfortable, you feel a sense of community, and you can grow.
Do you guys sing Kumbaya every time?
No, it's usually Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Okay.
But we try and do Happy Birthday in everyone's language. But no, it's, and this is the challenge. Like, how do you add value to so many different people? I haven't cracked that one out. But I know you got to do it because
it's incredible that you're
important.
spending that much time on it, right? You're thinking about who might they need to know, who else are they're curious about, right? And who don't they know? That's amazing. Those are like 3 great questions that you're like kind of filtering through as you're going through.
And then if I can't provide it, who can come in, right? So I'll bring in like a speaker for one of the breakfasts or something like.
Oh yeah, you also
accounting
do that,
101 for blah blah blah, right? Like for startups.
Yeah.
So I used to do that all the time. Now I'm like,
it takes a little bit.
So many events,
time and effort, right? Yeah. So I can imagine that gets repetitive. How do you do that efficiently or effectively?
Well, because it's repetitive, actually, you can create process.
Right.
So you can have one person, like I'm going to be dedicating someone on my team that just keeps track of the speakers we have, the locations I'm going to, who I want to interview, and actually trying to help me schedule that a little bit more. So I'm actually in these countries a little bit more frequently, like let's say twice a year. Like if I can get to all these places once a quarter, that would be phenomenal. Yeah. But then it's like, okay, how can we level that up?
Damn. All right, I have to ask this question again. So you just talked about, all right, you have to have someone in your team do it. You have to go to all these different countries. You have to host all these different events. You have to go out and find these people, find the speakers. It's costing up some money, right? Again, that question I asked earlier, why? I want to know from you. I mean, I have my own, take on it, but what's your why for community?
I just know it's important. That's it.
But like for you, what are you getting out of it? I mean, come on.
That's a hell of a lot of fun. I really just enjoy the shit out of it.
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
Monetarily, that's something that we're working on.
It's like, a stinker of ROI, right?
Because I hate trying to monetize.
Right. Directly.
Yeah. I'm not trying to build a market segment. Indirectly, I have entrepreneurs that I have interviewed or that are part of this. They're like, "Hey, Rich, can you do my videos?"
Yeah, that's cool.
Sure. Hey, Rich, I'm looking to do XYZ. Can you help me?
Right.
Sure. But I have no product. I have no service. I'm not selling them PPTs. I'm not like, hey, if you really enjoyed this event, but I'm looking for. I don't actually directly try and engage business.
Right. So in those meetings, you never go out and like, hey, by the way, you should buy Collective. No, you don't do that.
You should.
Have you thought about buying Collective recently? I have.
You should be part of the Collective. No, I don't, and I haven't.
That's
and I think this is like,
and we've all been to those events where somebody's like passing out business cards right away, or they try to sell you something right away, and you just feel like, wait, is this what this was about? I thought it was about like us and this idea that we have, the theme. And I get it, you got to sell or whatever like that, but I'm really impressed. For the events that I've been to that you were hosting, I was like, it feels right. It feels like people like the other people in the room that you bring together are always smart, bring value to each other. They're like good people, and I felt like, wow, that's cool.
That's okay,
really
lot
cool.
Of work.
And you feel it though as an audience member, right?
Yeah.
And then on top of it, you don't go out and have that right hook and try to sell them something. So that's really cool.
And I mean, I should.
Maybe.
I mean, I could.
Yeah.
I should, whatever, but I won't, because I realize actually the long term of this is going to be something that it's just much larger. I don't know what it is, and I particularly in some ways I don't really care.
Right.
I just know that you can't go wrong by helping people in your space come together to achieve more.
Damn.
You can't
That's
do better than that.
No, that's
right?
it. That's
and
it.
so if you can do that, something will come from it. It might be a masterclass. It might be an immersion program. It might be anything. It might be T-shirts. It might be merch. I don't know. But I don't think about that too much, because I think if I could take your compliment and accept it for a second, I think it's because I don't think about it.
Yeah.
Because the only thing I'm worried about is content, community, making sure that people really get a value out of coming to the events, meeting each other, and participating in this.
And that's
if
why
I was
you say
just
it's
trying
fun.
to like, hey, the best blah for the cheapest blah, well, you have to run as fast as all your competitors who are trying to just milk the system. Because these are communities that do have a lot of value, and you can sell into them. But if that's all you're known for, what's your legacy, say, in 5 years? Like, why would people remember your work?
For sure.
Or remember who you are? Or remember what you contributed? I think that's actually the longer term metrics of success for something that I'm working on. I was like, just build it and just see what comes out naturally.
Right. But I mean, you build it with all those great people around you, right? And I think that's fascinating.
The other thing I do is I tend not to take money from the community when I actually start to monetize this stuff, like hands-on. I find externals.
What do you mean with this?
So like, I was thinking, like, if I were to run, say, this whole platform, I would need a sizable amount of travel budget. So I would actually go to like an airline that was like, we want to attract the entrepreneurs. A hotel, we want to attract the entrepreneurs. Like, find a few brands that are like, they're entrepreneur focused, and they want to be aligned with, say, sustainability, innovation, you know, entrepreneurship.
Right. Your brand.
Find like 2 or 3. Don't make it obscene. Make it sizable enough that they are committed to you, say 2, 3, 5 years. Provide real high level value for them. And just tell everyone, like, look, honestly, I'm doing this because it means I don't have to ask you for money. Like, you don't have to make money off the community directly.
Sure. Yeah.
There's someone else that just wants a little bit of presence. And if that's an acceptable balance to your community, that's the better way in my mindset, right? Than like, okay, I have 500 people, I need 50 of them to, no. I'd rather have 2 brands, 3 brands that, like, this is important work, we want to support it, and we
So you're trying to really create a win-win in this scenario. Win-win-win, right? Win for you, win for your partners, win for the audience and the community, and really try to have everybody get something for it. So it's really crazy. I mean, I can see how it's crazy because it's like, you know, everybody wants to monetize right now, right? And we talk about community building, and everybody might be like, oh, I need to watch this so I know how to take from the community later.
I will say that almost the number one question from people, when they see the work, they hear the job, they're like, how do you make money?
Yeah, sure.
Like, what's the product? What's the service?
Yeah.
And in that sense, actually, I know what that means is that there is a huge market opportunity for the work itself. Like, the work itself is valuable. So don't fuck it up. Remain pure to your work, and it will work. Like, something will show itself. So just keep doing that. And if you get people asking that, it's like, I'm on the right path. Like, I'm providing value to people, and they're not sure why I'm doing it because they're not paying for it.
They're like, wait a second.
Right? They're like, this doesn't make any sense.
It's that good.
Is it free lunch?
Yeah.
Like, okay. But and in that sense, like, I was thinking about, like, I've had some pretty interesting people be like, but why not? And I'm like, now I know I'm on the right path. Now I know I'm providing value to people in and out of the community. And that's what I want to do. That's all I want to do.
Feedback loop that you're using that question as a feedback loop to know if you're on the right track or not. What communities are you building? Can you list them out a little bit, or?
So, like the actual people involved, or
no? I mean, like what are people looking for? How do you think about your communities?
So the physical ones would be the volunteers, the entrepreneurs, the executives, like the CSR sustainability executives, and then the young professionals. Those are like my basic 4, but we've been building an academic one for quite a while as well.
Okay.
So again, within those,
what was it?
So academics, volunteers, corporate executives, entrepreneurs,
young professionals. I got it. Okay.
And that's all.
Do you mix them up, or do you keep them distinct?
I try to keep them distinct.
Interesting.
Now there's overflow.
Sure.
And that's fine. Like, I'll have an event here, and we'll have some entrepreneurs, we'll have some young professionals, we'll have some executives. Great. But I'm trying to keep the content that I provide to them, the services, the product, or whatever it is, I try and keep it distinct. So, like, students, we talk to the university professors, we talk to them directly. It's a totally different thing. We go to their campus, we bring executives from our community to their campus for free.
Wow.
And by doing that,
then they love it.
Yeah, they love it.
Yeah.
But the executives love it.
Yeah, also.
And so then the next thing is, like, if I can do it these executives would be like, hey, can you run an event for us? Okay. And then I can bring like a hackathon. We can bring those students in because like, God, now I get all the value. Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't really know how to plan this stuff. I just know like what's important in there. Online communities, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube are probably my 3 that I focus on. Right. Obviously, because we're doing video, YouTube is a big piece of that. But yeah, Facebook, I tend to friend a lot of people in the industry and try and throw a lot of content out there or discussions. LinkedIn, same thing. I look at all the platforms as professional platforms.
Sure.
Although through YouTube, I'm now starting to get a little bit more personal with my vlog.
Nice.
Right.
Can't wait to see that.
There's 5 or 6 episodes. And I'm really late on some other ones.
Oh, so we'll get there.
It happens.
We'll get there.
It happens.
Damn. So it's interesting. I mean, if I can jump in a little bit on this, right? How I think about communities is actually very, very similar. No surprise. I never use the word community. It's stupid to me. I like community is not real, right? We're talking about you have a community. What's your community, right? So I don't believe that. What's your tribe? No. I just think in terms of people, friends, relationships. That's all I got, right? So I think about who can I call, who else knows who, and that's it, right? I don't try to put a label on it or anything like that. So it started off as I couldn't meet everybody, so I got to do a happy hour. Right? Yeah. So I broke it down for instead of having, a 1 hour long coffee meeting with like the 20 or 30, 40, 50, 60, eventually 70, 80 people, we're like, wait, I can't do this every week. Like this is insane. Like
too much.
It costs money and it's stupid. So, all right, how do I, flip that on its head? So how can they come to me? Right. And so I started creating these happy hours for like-minded individuals where it was like creatives, architects, designers, entrepreneurs, corporate innovators, just having a drink together. And creator's a little bit weird, so if you throw a drink in there, people loosen up a little bit and they're like, oh, I'm not an introvert anymore, I'm not that creative introvert, I'm gonna have a conversation with you. So that's what happened. This group, which was hosted on WeChat, got a little bit too rowdy. Creatives again get a little rowdy. So what happened was I had to say, all right guys, you got to cut it out. You can stay in this group. I want to make another one, so if you want to join the happy hour next time, join this next group. And I turned that rowdy group into a value group, which I was calling DAK. Does anyone know? And so now there's a group of, there's 2 groups now where there's because there's a cap on WeChat, and they're both full basically, where they have tons of people asking each other questions about the creative, where to find what in the creative community, right? Nice. And because everyone's curious, they do help each other.
You started off setting this up for yourself to basically just meet more people in a manageable amount of time, basically, and effort, right?
Efficiently, and have a drink, once a month.
But now what is it?
So now this is still the same thing. I haven't morphed it, but I want to keep it going because I can't. You know what it is? It's an inspiration vehicle for me. Okay. I need to stay in touch with everybody so I know I can feel like I know what's going on in their world, right? Right. And so you can see everything that's happening on WeChat and on Facebook and on Twitter or whatever, but you don't know what's going on. Right. I mean,
there's just too much going on.
There's too much going on. Before we shoot these, we have a conversation, know, and like we talk to each other.
It may not show, but we do.
Yeah. we talk on WeChat, but it's like, how far is that going to go? Right. Right. So, in person, live, physical conversations, coffees, drinks, beers. I am all about that. I love that so much. And so, when you're talking about that, it made so much sense for me. And then, and that's all, And of course, I had the game. So, these people were curious about the game, and I was co-creating with them throughout the whole period. And then, of course, I had the book, and of course, there was a lot of interactions around my book, even before it was a book. That's where that community maybe has some value if you are thinking about value in the sense that it needs to be a transaction. But I'm very, very, very sensitive about that. Like,
so I try to jump in. I was going to ask you about, because I have seen recently where people are like, I get invited to so many coffees, I can't do it anymore. I'm going to start charging for my coffee. Ooh. How do you take that?
I'll take the money. No, I'm kidding.
So, do you think that's smart? Like, my time is so valuable that an introductory coffee will cost you $200.
200. Wow, that's a funny number. No, I mean, I like it if they're that hot. If their shit is that hot, and you're like, ooh, I need that time. Yeah, go for it. I think there are a lot of interesting, platforms where you can Skype somebody for a certain amount of money. Right. And I think that's really cool. I mean, and to do that on a micro level, on an individual level for coffees, I mean, if you can swing it, yeah, sure. I mean, I'm not going to do it, but because.
But do you risk the opportunity to build community when you do that? Because then
well,
the
obviously,
transaction.
They don't have that anymore. I mean, they have enough cachet and followers or network, let's just say, that yeah, fine. A coffee with them might cost $100, $200, $1,000, right? Okay. So if they want to do it, that's fine. I'm not playing at that level yet. So if you want a coffee, drop me a line. It says so on my website, letsbeergreat.com. At the bottom, it says, "What's your drink?" And I actually get a lot of interactions from that.
Right.
Just because awesome. I'm just like, "What's your drink?" Whiskey, tea, coffee, whatever it is.
Right.
And we have a good chat, and that's maybe one of the funnels or entry points for me to build my network. I love it. It's always the best people because it's like, honestly, it's not that frequent. So really drop a line. It's like once in a while you get this message. You're like, that's cool. There's somebody else in the world who's open-minded and looking for these things. Wow.
I'm not going to build relationships.
Yeah.
Right.
That's super, super key. Because, as you were talking, as I was like probing you and poking you, I'm like, what's the value, man? Why are you doing this?
Build
right?
Relationships.
I get it. But I'm a businessman. I need to make some money, right? I haven't figured out how to make money. So, if I don't have friends, I don't have money. I don't have new opportunities.
As we know from episode 1.
Here we go. And as we know from that first, one of the early Starbucks interactions, I was like, "Yo, Rich, you got any advice for me?"
I think you still owe me $200 from that.
Yeah, I got a Starbucks card. Here you go. Sponsored by Starbucks. Aren't you like craving a latte right now? There you go.
Late.
There you go. So, yeah, I mean, I'm, you could put a paywall, but for some people it's worth it, and for some people, I mean, on the receiving end, it's also worth it.
So I like the fact that you're running games, and you're running your game in particular. What about online? Like you mentioned WeChat. Mm-hmm. What's a more fun way? What's a more natural way for you to engage? Is it really the physical and like, hey, how you doing? Handshake, sit across the table, or is it you're easier to get through 30 LinkedIn invitations and try and generate some discussion there?
Yeah, I mean, you could do that, but I think the world is so scattered that if you're talking about like rapport, like real emotional connection to somebody, you got to do it live, right? At best, you can do it on a Skype call, right? If you're talking about using technology to facilitate it, right? Sure. At this stage, I mean, until we get to some whatever next platform that where we live on in this VR room and this VR cafe,
that's coming.
It's coming. So when that happens, I'll be curious and I'll be there and I'll be like, all right, send me that coffee invite on whatever platform.
How do younger, say, fresh grads, fresh, like new entrants to the business world, how are they seeing this? Like, do you think they view it differently? Is it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure you say community, their mind instantly goes like online community, right? They don't have any sense of this offline thing. That's my belief, right? And I think over time they will, because ultimately we do live in this physical world, and we spend time in a room together, and it changes the dynamic of everything, and your mind starts to understand, there's this, having a relationship is great. I mean, and having pen pals or online friends or whatever.
Pen pals, damn, he's old.
You know what pen pals are?
I was in prison.
So I mean, that's cool, right? To have some sort of relationship virtually or on or through DMs or whatever, that's fine. Yeah. But I mean, what does it lead to?
But does it need to be physical, or can they, because they're more adept to it or more adept to it, will they find the same level of community?
So my theory is
we do.
They probably understand it a lot more than I do, and maybe you do. But eventually, they will probably come back to the human norm, right? Okay. Regression to the average, right? And that's what average is. People are people. Humans need other human beings. And until there's another technology that's going to allow us to facilitate the community in a way that feels human, then I will say, right? Technology that can.
But what if that community is you and me sitting next to each other? We both put on our VR goggles, and then we hang out.
That's fine.
Same.
Yeah, eventually.
All right.
I mean, whatever. It may not be VR goggles. It may be whatever. You plug in Matrix style, and this steak really tastes like steak.
As you do.
Right. So I think eventually, but we're not there yet. So why are we talking about that, right?
Okay.
In terms of, as long as, like, the question is, who do you trust? Right. that's your people's.
Right.
Right. That's your people. So when you think in terms of emotion rather than transaction, then you start to think about community in a whole different light. And I think that's what we were overlapping on, right?
Right.
And technology is a way to facilitate that when we get there. But until then, use what you got.
Okay. So who do you trust? I want to play off that because I see we have one more question up here, which is when to start and how do you focus? When you're building a community, when you are reaching out, how do you get started, and does having a focus around a topic, around a geography, having a focus, does that help you build faster?
I think definitely having a focus, rather than focus, how about curiosity, right? I mean, we're all entrepreneurs here. That's what this whole thing's about, right? So if you're a young entrepreneur, I think that's the best place to be in. I remember I would tell this to a lot of my younger colleagues or friends or whoever who are becoming entrepreneurs. If you're a young entrepreneur, use that to your advantage, because there are so many older people who are open to having coffees and interacting with you. Definitely. Because you have the insight of youth, which is what's hot right now, what is trendy. You have this whole new passion and it's infectious, right? So that's where young entrepreneurs have an advantage. Right. Nobody's responding to my DMs anymore. I'm like, yo, do you want to get a coffee? They're like, who are you? Yeah. What are you selling, right? And so after you get to a certain level, nobody's responding to you. But if you're like 30 and below, or at least you look 30 and below, you're friendly enough, you can ask for a coffee. Right. Your hit rate is just much higher. Right. And so I tell my young friends, I'd be like, do it. Ask for the coffees, get in front of them, and start an exchange, start a relationship.
So the only thing is I do the same thing, but because of the research work that we do at Collective, I'm really pushing, just get on LinkedIn. Yeah. Ask people for a coffee. You'll be amazed at the hit rate. It's incredible. Yeah. And
I mean, the world is so good in that way.
The fear factor of turning something digital into something real, that's when that hits, right? Yeah. It's not like there's all these natural links, and I saw 8 people that I don't know liked your photo. I'm like, oh, who are they? It's just like, it's a totally different experience, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it's really interesting.
Great nuances there, and if you can work through it, cool.
Yeah, and I think having focus allows you to help that a little bit, right? Okay. Like if you're focused around, say, I want to learn something, I want to be around certain people, I think there's now enough online communities that maybe leads to a physical community as well. And actually, hands-on is one of those things, like you find us online. Right. Or you find, one way or another, or you referred to us online, and then you'll turn that into something physical. Right. Through Collective, I think what I'm trying to really get done is the same thing. Like, you hear about the community, you come into it. Your drinks, they're the same thing. But in between, how do you keep those connections firing so that everyone remains focused on providing value to each other, right? And so I think that's, for me, was the focus was actually really clear. I want to really just constantly find ways to add value. Yeah. And I'm hoping that you're basically attracting the same type of people. It's like, right. I want to constantly, it's a give and take.
You're trying to create a movement in a certain sense, right? So how are you going to do that? Right. So you can do it online, do it offline, but, go through the loop. That loop again,
Back to the loops.
Back to the loop.
So speaking of loop, we are wrapping up another Behind the Grind. And I think we have a lot of fun in our communities, online, offline, although I'm not in his groups. Little tear. But as you come through it, what you start to realize, at the end of the day, no matter if you're online or offline, you have to be able to interact with individuals. You have to be able to provide value. You have to be able to support those in need, know how to ask the right questions, and just genuinely have, I think, a passion for the community itself. There's a common
that what you said earlier was I just have fun doing it. I was I get that. And, that New Jersey skeptic in me, I'm like, tell me the truth, what you're getting out of it. But the more I poked at you, you're just like, no, I really like it. I was like, all right, I'll buy you now.
There's something about honestly getting on an airplane, going to interview all these entrepreneurs, just hang out with them.
That's
it's awesome.
That's cool.
And but eventually I got to find a way to pay for that airplane.
Sure.
Right.
And that'll work itself out.
But I'll work that out later.
Yeah, you know how to do that. So amazing episode. Wow.
Yeah.
It was a banger.
It was a banger.
As promised.
If you're still here with us, please send us your comments. Tell us how you're building community. What are you seeing? What are things that you're comfortable with?
Probably texting like this, not texting like this.
Yeah, we're going to push you online now, or keep you online. Down in the comments, after you've liked, shared, and subscribed to the channel, punch that bell. please leave a comment. What are some topics you want to hear about? What do you want to learn more about Brian's experience, my experience, the challenges, the ups, the downs, whatever, or maybe who do you want to meet? How do you want to reach out to people? Build your own community.
Give me your tips. I'm curious too. So let's start an exchange. Just have a conversation and keep this going because I love it.
Yeah, and I promise he won't charge you $200 for the coffee.
Not yet.
Thank you very much. Have a great week with Rich Brubaker and
Brian Tam. Be well.